Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will share with you a very nice bag recipe, the model of which belongs to a famous brand. I used the paper thread of spaghetti yarn for this bag. I want to show you the model closely. Look, we will prepare our bag with square motifs. I used the same color as the original. I will add the link below in the description section. You can see it from there. We will knit our bag by preparing 15 square motifs. After giving the motifs the bag form, we have 3 rows in the lower part. Then we prepare the handle by knitting only single crochet. Lastly, after knitting and finishing our bag, we use such a strong steam iron. We iron it from the inside. Show it on the inside of the bag. It's quite deep inside. You can use it as a beach bag or as a daily bag. It's a suitable size for both. It's not too small, not too big a bag. It is also useful to point this out. This is asked a lot. Does paper string deteriorate when wet? By the way, I also saw the bag in the store. It was incredibly soft. It almost had a cotton-like, fabric-like texture. It was overly softened. As you know, I was using skein paper threads before, and their hardness and softness varied depending on their color, thinness, and thickness. As you know, I was softening the extremely hard paper threads. We do the softening process by soaking it with softener. We were doing it using... If anyone is wondering about this, I have previously shared with you the video on how to soften paper rope. I'll add the link in the description below. You can check it out from there. In other words, when paper threads are not knitted, when they are too hard, they are already exposed to water and we soften them. When you use it at the beach, there will be no deterioration when it comes into contact with seawater. But there is an important trick here. If you can't scratch it when it gets wet, if it doesn't cause any friction, just let it dry. If you continue to wear it after getting wet, for example by rubbing it against yourself, it will deform quickly. There may be breaks, etc. That's why it dries quickly when it gets wet. After you let it dry, you can continue using it. There is no problem after it gets wet. As long as it is not subjected to friction, it is worth mentioning this because I have been using it for a long time. That is, for years I have been using paper rope. There was no deterioration even when wet. I even tried this sometimes. I wet it completely and left it to dry, nothing. It didn't work. There is no problem at all. You can wipe it with a damp cloth with light touches while washing or cleaning, but it will be deformed when you wipe it by rubbing like this. It is also worth noting that with the paper type of spaghetti oil, this bag really looked like a mold. I saw the original one. It was extremely soft. It was very different. I liked it very much. It did not go away. I can say that ours turned out to be like a mold. That is, it looks great when installed. Those who use the paper type will know that it softens a little after knitting. It is also worth mentioning that the paper type softens a little more after using it. I tried to share all the details of our bag with you step by step in the video. I hope that will be useful. You can find all the details of the size and how much rope I used in the video. Before moving on to our detailed recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. You can subscribe to our channel for free. I would be really happy if you liked the video and leave your comments. Let's move on to our recipe. I used 2 balls of spaghetti yarn's paper yarn for my bag. I would like to share the feature of the rope with you. Its mixture is 100% paper. Its weight is between 130, 150 grams, and it is 250 meters long. It is a very comfortable yarn to knit. I can say that it is the softest paper yarn I have ever knitted. By the way, it has very beautiful colors. You can look at different color options when you visit spaghettiyarn.com. I use natural color here. I will add the link to the natural color of the paper thread in the description section below. You can look from there. By the way, I would like to share a nice discount news from Spaghettia for my subscribers. You can use it for purchases of 100 teraliters or more from spaghettia.com. You can complete your shopping with a 10% discount with the Gulkan10 code. I would like to thank Spaghettia's family very much for this nice discount. I would like to show you the texture of the yarn I used closely. The crochet number I will use will be 3 millimeters. You can determine your own crochet number according to the thinness and thickness of your own yarn, the density and looseness of your knitting. Here we start with the magic ring. Look at it this way. I keep the end long rather than short. I have shared the magic ring with you in detail before. If there are beginners among us, how to make a magic ring, I will add the link to the video in the description section below. You can access it by clicking there. Look, we created our magic ring like this. Here we draw a chain while creating the ring. Now we complete this chain in 3, 2. We wrap it around the beginning of 3 crochet hooks and sink in the ring. Look, we have 3 stitches, we fill them, we wrap them together again, we knit them together, we prepare a double handrail, we wrap them again, we sink in the ring and remove the stitch. We have 3 stitches, we knit a double handrail, now we will accept a handrail in the chain at the beginning. Look, right now 1, 2, we have 3 handrails. Now we are preparing a total of 18 double handrails inside our ring. Here we have a total of 18 double handrails. Now we will collect the remaining rope from the magic ring. Isn't this it? You need to do this carefully. Look at it carefully. I close our short rope by gathering the remaining short rope from the magic ring in a controlled manner to the point where I can close this middle part. If you want, you can make 5, 6 chains at the beginning with a chain instead of a magic ring. You can easily see how many chains you need to pull. When you knit a glaze, you can determine the number yourself. Now I'm sinking this rope into the body part where the chain is. Look from here, I'm picking it up on the end of my hook. I'll tighten it up a bit here too. Look, I turned the short rope into a loop. Here I wrap the short yarn around my hook again. I made it into a loop from the nest. Look, I'm going through it and locking it here. It is necessary to lock it with this chain at this stage. If we do not lock it at this stage, we will see that this middle belly part opens while hiding the yarn in another row we knit. We don't want this. So look here. We made a nice lock with a chain. Now I'm taking the stitch on my hook. I'm getting back to knitting. We prepared a total of 18 double handrails, including the chain. Now look at the chained point without touching it. There are 1, 2, 3 chains here. Without touching this chained point, we sink into the headspace of the first double handrail we knitted. We can see this easily when we open it like this. We will take the short yarn on the crochet hook and knit it by hiding it. We remove a stitch from this point and slide the stitch we removed from the other stitch. This slide point creates the top gap of the chain. Look, we have equalized our piece in this way. Now we go up with 1, 2, 3 chains. We are now on the first trapeze hill by wrapping the rail around the beginning. We created a handrail by going up from the top with 3 chains. We fill it, we come to the same space and slide the first trapeze on, which we scrolled in vain. By removing it and knitting a double handrail, we have knitted 2 handrails in the same space. We are filling up. I sink into the headspace of another banister. I keep the short yarn on the hook so that we can hide it and continue knitting. We created our banister. We are filling up. We come to the same gap and knit the second double handrail again. We got around. We knit 2 double handrails, one on the other. Look, we now know how to knit the double handrail. Now we will continue by knitting 2 double handrails on the top of each handrail until the end of the line. Look, the point where we scroll is also important for us. Now let's complete the number here. We have come to the end of our turn. Look, we knitted 2 double handrails on top of the last handrail. We filled the head of our crochet hook. We had a shift point here, and since we accepted this chain handrail, we knitted a handrail at this sliding point. We accept headspace, but look, we will sink to this line point at the bottom, not directly in the form of a spike. If we sink to the peak here, there will be a strange gap here. We don't want this. Now look, we're sinking into our last gap here, so we are sinking into our 18th void. And by knitting 2 double handrails in this gap and at the point where the slide is located, the total number of handrails we have obtained should be 36 in this second row. We have obtained 36 double handrails in total. By knitting 2 handrails in each hole, now I am sinking the 3 chains to the top of the first handrail without touching them at all. I take off the stitch and slide it from the other stitch. Look, I do a hand iron on the second row in every row. Let's continue by pressing and hand ironing. Finally, when we finish the motif, it tells you that we will iron it. Now we go up again with 3 chains. Again, we accept this as a banister we got around. Now look at the top of the first handrail. In the same space, we made a slide. We weave 2 double handrails into this gap. We have 3 handrails with the chain. The second double handrail sinks into the same gap again. We obtain 3 handrails with the chain. We make 2 chains and wrap them around the head of our crochet hook. Here we skip 2 handrail gaps, sink to the top of the third handrail, and make a loop. We have 3 stitches and we are filling them. We collect all three at once. Here, when I looked at the original bag, it was made with single stitch, but the stitch was made very loosely. I made a single handrail. This is also called double crochet. This remained more orderly. It is also worth mentioning this. Now we are pulling our 2 chains again. We wrapped it around the head of our crochet hook. We leave 2 spaces, sink into the 3rd space and make a loop. We have 3 stitches and we are filling them. We knit a single handrail by collecting 3 of them at once. We make 2 chains and wrap them around the head of our crochet hook and skip 2 spaces again. Now we will knit 4 double handrails in the 3rd space. Look, I'm lengthening my stitches a little bit. I fill the same gap with a 2nd double handrail. I fill the same space with a 3rd double handrail. We knitted our 4th double handrail in the same gap. We will pull 2 chains again and do the same thing we did before. Let's definitely straighten our knitting with our hands. We pulled our 2 chains and wrapped them around the head of our crochet hook. We skip a few spaces, then sink into the 3rd space and knit our single handrail. In other words, by applying the process we did here to the other corners, we proceed to the end of the row. Look, we knitted our last 2 chain single handrail by applying the same process in the corners as we have described. Now we are pulling our 2 chains again. By wrapping it around the head of our crochet hook, we are left with 2 spaces here. Look, with a few shifts, we are left with 2 spaces. Now when we started with 3 handrails. When we finish, we knit the 4th banister. We fill it and look, the first handrail is the same as the first handrail we removed the chain from. We sink into the top, remove the loop, knit a double handrail, and we have made the 4th handrail like this. Now we will make our connection again. Without touching the chain at all, we sink into the first trabzan hill and remove the loop, and we pass our other loop by sliding it from the top of the chain. We create the gap. We go up 123 chains, we accept our chain as a handrail, we wrapped it around. Now in this gap, the first handrail comes into the gap and sinks to the top, and we knit a dirty handrail. Look at the 2 handrail points with the chain. We have reached the top of the handrail after the chain here. So this is 1, 2, 3. It becomes a handrail. We find another handrail here, a double handrail on the last handrail here. This is the last row we will knit. We fill it. We have a gap of 2 chains here. We sink into this wide gap and knit 2 double handrails. We fill the same gap with a 2nd handrail. We had a single handrail here. We sink into the top of the single handrail and knit it like this. We fill the top of the handrail with double handrails and put 2 double handrails in the space of 2 chains. We fill it up and come to the top of the single handrail. Here, look, we sink to the top of the single handrail like this. Double handrail. 2 chains are idle, 2 double handrails. 2 handrails in the same space. Now I've come to the point where there are 4 handrails. I fill the first one with a double handrail. I fill the second one with a double handrail. 2 double handrails for the 3rd one. Now we will create the corner here. Let's open this rope. It curled like this because I took it from the ball. I got around. I come back to the same space and knit my 2nd double handrail. Now look, we knitted the 3rd handrail here with 2 double handrails. To create the corner, we draw a chain and fill it. Now we come to the same gap and come to the point where we knitted last and knit 2 double handrails again. Look at the 2nd double handrail inside the same slot. We created the corner point. We fill it up. Immediately double handrail on the top of another handrail. The handrails are over. Now we are faced with 2 chains. We knit 2 double handrails for them. When we see 2 chains, we knit 2 double handrails. And when we see a single handrail, we proceed by knitting double handrails again. Now we proceed like this. We will open our knitting by hand ironing. Look, we apply the corner we created in other corners. Let's share with you how we finish at the end of the row. Look, we've reached the end of our turn. We had 4 handrails here in the corner. We knitted our banister on the first one. Look at the 2nd handrail, the point with the chain. The head space of the chained point is in this part. We sink to this point and knit our double handrail. Now when we finish, we will finish by making a corner at the point where the 3rd handrail is. When we started, we knit 2 double handrails in this third trapeze with a chain and a handrail. When we finished, look, we knit 2 double handrails on the trapeze hill that comes after this chain, that is on the third trapeze, a second double handrail in the same space, and while finishing here, we pull a chain and tie our rope like this. Cut it to 10 centimeters. We leave our rope in our nest. Here we immediately remove our loop from the chain and come back to the top of the first railing without touching the chain. Look, we are sinking from back to front. We take the rope from front to back into this headspace. Then let's sink into the chain like this, a chain that we pulled here. We pass this rope here. Look, in this way we created in the headspace of the chain in between. This place is important. If we don't do this, we will bring the banisters opposite each other while combining the motifs. This place is important. What are we doing now? There was a chain spot. I'm sinking right into the dashed line of this chain dot. I take a loop from this point in the back. I take a loop again, pass my rope through the slot I created here and secure it well with a chain. Then I use the short rope. Look at the wide gaps between the handrails. I can sink comfortably. I take the thread on the end of the crochet hook and pass it through the points. We can cut off the excess thread and remove it. At this stage, now look, it is necessary to do hand ironing. Let's do it by hand, or I ironed it in reverse with the steam iron you knitted. I changed my motif. I ironed it by pressing it with a strong steam iron. There is no problem. When I saw this bag in the store, it was incredibly soft. So I think they knitted it by softening the paper yarn. It had a very loose form, so I think ours will be a little better. Now when we do it, you will see this too. After ironing with steam here, we have now prepared our motifs. We need 15 motifs in total. I want to say it in its ironed form. The size of our motif, look, I am giving the size of my ironed motif, 11 centimeters. The size of the motif was 11 centimeters. Even if we use the same yarn and the same crochet number, the measurements I have given may be a little larger than your measurements. This will vary depending on our knitting frequency and looseness. It is also worth mentioning this. Now let's move on to placing our motifs. Now we will start placing our motifs here. Look at it this way. I'm doubling the motif we'll put on the bottom base in a triangular shape like this. I'm pressing it a little bit to open it like this. Then look here, I take my motifs, close them so that the insides, that is the wrong parts, are facing each other, and place them at this point. I take another motif with the reverse parts facing each other and place it in this section. Then look at another motif with the reverse parts facing each other. Let's give the shape of our bag quickly. This will be quite easy. Look, we placed our motifs like this. I hope it is clearly understood at this stage how the motifs were placed. Now, after placing it like this, the process we will do is as follows. I will use an itamin needle. Look, I'm going to combine it with paper thread again. I will do the joining in 2 layers. How do I do this? This is how I thread my itamin needle. Let's attach some rope to show it quickly. Here I double the rope. Look, I'm cutting my rope evenly like this. I won't throw a wedding, etc. Now what should we do here? Let's start from the base. Let's start from the edge here. Let's start from this end part. When I show you a little bit here, you will easily understand how to combine the whole thing. What is important here is the placement of the motifs. Once you understand this, you can easily combine it now. I'm taking these 2 motifs. Look, these edges will come together. I'll finish the other motifs a little so that it can be understood easily at this stage. Look, I'm closing the straight parts facing each other. I close the straight parts facing each other. Since I don't do any knotting, I'm going to hide it a bit by passing my rope through the back of the handrails. If you don't want to do it, you can also knot it. I don't need it. Look, we're here. First, let's fix our rope at the back of this handrail. Passing the rope is not enough. You will definitely need to squeeze it from the same point a few times. Look, we have made a lock here. This rope will not come off anymore. Now, when we were assembling the motif, we had a chain gap opposite each other. Look at these gaps. Let's sink from this side. I'm sinking into a chain gap. In this piece, I sink into a chain gap and thread my thread. Look, we didn't wrap it. We're going to do the work. Actually, I'm doing it in 2 layers. I'm opening it up to make it solid. Look, we're joining in reverse here. If you want, you can also join from the straight part. Then look, I fell into a gap of a chain mutually. Then I immediately sink into the headspace of the next railing. Look, I'm sinking into the headspace of the banister. I sank. On the opposite piece, I again sink into the top gaps of the banister and thread my rope. Look, we're going to do the right thing. Let's fix it this way. Then I sink again and again to the top of the next railing. On the opposite piece, I insert my needle into the top of the handrail and make a wrap stitch. Look, it's very, very easy. You can also combine it in different ways. You don't necessarily have to combine it this way. You can combine it however you want, whichever is easier for you. I will make 2 layers like this and hit the banisters opposite each other. Look, I hope it was understandable. As I said, I will stitch the handrails mutually and then stitch the 1 chain gaps opposite each other and combine my motifs in this way. You can use different methods in this way. When I come to the corner, I will combine the motifs. Look, after stitching the 1 chain gaps opposite each other, the same process we did in the logic of the motif. Again, we will assemble our bag by combining what is on the diagonal and making transitions to the diagonal like this, stitching it beautifully with an Edamine needle, giving the shape of our motifs as we have shown here, and we will continue to the next stage together. Look, we have combined our motifs by sewing them with an Edamine needle. We have given this form. Let's look at the other side. We did not iron at the moment. After sewing, we will now make a frame for the mouth part. After sewing the handle lastly, we will iron it once more. I turn this side. Both sides are the same. You can start from the side you want. Now we take our yarn and form a loop with a chain like this, wrap it around the head of the crochet hook. Look at the gap for a chain on that sharp point in that corner. We will start by sinking into the gap. We sink into a chain gap and remove the stitch. Look, there are 3 stitches. We fill them, we wrap them together again, we knit them together, and start with a double handrail. We knit 4 double handrails by skipping 3 handrails and sinking to the 4th handrail. 1, 2, 3, and 4 we fill in. 1, 2, 3, skipping the handrail, sinking the 4th handrail and knitting 4 double handrails. 2, 3, and 4. I work as in the original, filling, no chain in between. 123, skip the handrail, sink the 4th handrail, and knit again. We are knitting our 4 double handrails. Let's knit them quickly, and the 4th double handrail. Look, we are filling it directly now. 1, 2, 3 handrails. Each of them will sink into the first gap that comes to the 1 chain gap, and we will knit 4 double handrails again. But how are we going to do it here? Now I am knitting 2 handrails here. Look, I knitted 2 handrails in the chain space. I'm filling up. I immediately sink into another void, a chain. I am knitting 2 double handrails, and in this way we complete 4 handrails. Look. This is how we completed it. We are filling up again. There is no chain in between. We count from the first handrail that comes after the first handrail's one chain space. We knit 4 double handrails by sinking into the first, second, third, and fourth spaces. Let's move forward to that middle part. The rest of our bag will continue in exactly the same way. I'm knitting the fourth handrail immediately. I'm filling up. Dip into the 1, 2, 3, fourth space again, and see that the numbers will match when we do this. I tried to work exactly the same as the original. I'm filling up 1, 2, 3, fourth space. We immediately knit 4 dirty handrails into this gap. Look, the paper type of the spaghetti half really doesn't hurt my hand at all. I can say that it is the softest paper type I have ever knitted. Besides, we don't have to worry about winding it up or making it a hassle. Let's fix it this way. Look, we're right in the middle now. I'll go around like this. We don't pull any chains in between when we hand iron. You will definitely see that these parts open when we iron them. I'm filling up. I use the one chain space of the motif in the middle of my bag. Look, there are 1, 2, 3 handrails left here again. And we sink into the one chain gap in the middle and weave 4 double handrails at this point. Now we will knit 4 handrails here. Let's do it quickly. Don't forget this part. Especially beginners who know knitting will do this very easily. Now look, I knitted 4 handrails. I fill it after knitting 4 handrails. Immediately after this one chain, I leave 1, 2, 3 handrails and start the same process again by knitting 4 double handrails for the 4th handrail. Look, the only thing that is different here is that we have made 4 dead ends right in the middle of this motif. By applying the same operations we did here at other points to the part at the back where we first started, we move forward until we reach the point where we started. After knitting our last 4 double handrails, look at the first handrail we started with. 1 or 2 or 3 handrails remain. We sink to the top of the first handrail we started with, and then we slide 1, go up with a 2 or 3 chain, and now look, there is an intermediate space here, the space where we slid. There is a space, we will use it. We come to this space and knit a double handrail. We will accept a handrail in these 3 chains. Then let's hide this rope inside. We are filling, look, we have knitted 2 handrails here. We are knitting 4 double handrails here. Now we are sinking the 4 handrails here without touching the wide gap between the 2 quadruple handrail groups. We are starting to knit the handrail. Look, we do not have any chains in between. We are knitting 4 double handrails here. We will knit our quadruple handrail groups again. Look, we will knit here as we finish. We have knitted the quadruple handrail group. We are filling it again. Look, we will sink into the wide gap between the handrails and knit 4 double handrail groups again. Now the process we will do here is like this. Look at the gaps between the quadruple handrail groups. Here we will knit our quadruple handrail groups in this gap. In this gap here we will knit our quadruple handrail groups. Let's come to the middle part. Here's a little bit. There is a trick. Let's share it with you right now. Look here, we have come to the middle part. Now look here, we will use the space on the right and left of the 4 handrail group in the middle motif. We have knitted our last 4 handrail group here. It looks clearly like this. We are filling up. Now we're sinking into the next gap. Look at the wide open space. We take a stitch from here and lengthen it a little. It definitely needs to be extended. We are filling up. We knit the first 2 stitches. We leave 2 stitches on the hook. We got around directly. Look, we sink into the gap on the left of the quadruple handrail. Take out the loop from here and make sure to lengthen it. Look, we are filling up. We knit the first 2 stitches and now we have 3 stitches. We gathered these 3 stitches at once. Look, we reduced here, we closed here, now we are direct. From now on, the same process will continue. We sink into the space between the next quadruple handrail and continue knitting our quadruple handrail group again. Let's knit like this as we did in the first place so that it can be understood more clearly. 3 and 4. See this part? I want to show it like this. From now on, we will continue with the quadruple handrail groups. On the other side, we will proceed to the point where we started by repeating the same process we did here. Look at the mouth of our bag. We are completing the 2nd row. Now we move on to our last 3rd row. We knitted the last group of 4 handrails here. Let's hook a stitch like this. We knitted the last group of 4 handrails here. We started with 2 handrails, 3 chains and a banister. Now, by knitting 2 double handrails in this gap, we complete this point by 4. Look, we knitted 2 handrails in this gap and made it 4. Now, without touching the 3 chains here, we sink to the top of the banister, remove the loop and slide. We knit a single crochet by making a chain like this and sinking it to the top of the first railing we hit. We prick the top of another banister with a frequent needle. Remove the stitch directly and knit. We cast on, remove the stitch, single crochet. Now look at each handrail like this. We will knit a handrail in the gap right there. We will knit 1 handrail at the top point. We will knit all of it with single crochet. Knit all of it with single crochet, and without skipping to the point in between, we will come to the point where we first started and break our thread here. This is how we will finish the body of our bag. Then we will knit the handle, place it in our bag, and finish our bag by ironing it. We have come to the end of our turn. Look here, we dip into this shifting point and knit our single needle. Here, after turning the last single needle, let's stretch our stitch a little bit, cut our thread here and see our bag we completed. After the single needle, look at this thread. It sinks from the top of the first single needle, just like we did in the motif. We take the inner part of the rope, then we will hide this rope by passing it through the intermediate points. Let's hide this later. Here we immediately take our rope and ask it to the handle part. Let's describe it. Look, we leave a little bit while knitting. With this rope we left, we will mount the handle to the bag. I start with the first chain. Without tightening, I pull my first chain. I start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chains. I leave the last chain here and make 1. I dip in the other chain and knit a single crochet. Then I dip in another chain and knit a single crochet. We will create 5 single crochets. Look, let's knit it quickly. We also dip in the last chain and knit a single crochet. We will lock this point like this. Look. I'm stretching my stitch. I knitted 5 single crochets here. I stretch the stitch and turn my knitting directly. I make turns without a chain. You can make turns with a chain if you want, but it is orderly like this. I sink into the first space that comes up and knit a single crochet. I sink into another space and knit 5 single crochets again. I turn the stem with 5 single crochets. I have prepared it. You can prepare it in the width you want. You can prepare it in the length you want. We dip into the last space, stretch the stitch again, turn our knitting, and we dip into the first space and knit single needles. Look, if you think it is too fast at this stage, you can start the video, or on the contrary, watch it by speeding it up. This way we will lengthen our single needles long enough. We pull a chain and leave it a little longer, cut our rope and prepare our handle. Look here, I knitted and prepared my handle enough. When I finished, lastly, I pulled a chain here, cut my loop and cut my rope enough and took it out of my loop like this. Its length is 46 centimeters. Let's measure the width after ironing it to stretch a little bit. 5 single crochet stitches reached your hand. Look, the hand of our handle measures 3 centimeters. As I said, you can increase or decrease this number. I made it 46 centimeters. In the original bag, this handle was a little longer. It can be worn diagonally, but I don't plan on using it diagonally. I made it in this size because I like to attach it directly to the arm and use it. But you can extend it as long as you want and wear it diagonally at the end. I will use this as an arm clip. If I want to wear it crossbody, there are long ready-made leather handles. I'm thinking of wearing them. Now I'm going to grab my etamine needle right here. We will mount our handle on our bag with the long handles we left behind. We completed our bag by sewing the handle to our bag and finally ironing it well with steam from the inside. His hand is 31 centimeters. The point of our bag from the bottom to this part was 40 centimeters. Already the length of the stem, I told you in the video, it was really beautiful. I hope you like it and try it too. Our recipe was like this. I wish good luck to those who will do it. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.